Hi, my name is Tracy Chauvin. I'm going to be walking you through activity fund safeguards for the Shawnee Mission School District for EDL 854. So, what are some guidelines for spending these student activity funds? The textbook says that school activity funds are not yours to lend, borrow, or spend in any way you see fit. They can only be used for the purpose in which they have been raised or allocated, and they need to benefit the student body as a whole. The KSDE handbook distinguishes between school and student activity funds. Student activity funds revolve around a student organization and are spent related to that organization. For example, if student council raises the money, student council spends the money. District activity funds are for co-curricular activities in which students participate, but the district administers the money, such as after-school clubs like Mad Science. The SMSD accounting manual says that building activity funds can contain money from both student and district activity funds. Student activity funds do require student approval, and district activity funds cannot be used for direct instruction expenditures such as curriculum. So, what are some sound internal control systems? The textbook looks at reasonableness, timeliness, reality, and commitment. Reasonableness, the cost of this safeguard, this control, shouldn't exceed the benefit of using it. We also need to look at time and public opinion. How much time it takes, how effective it is, and the timeliness in terms of it must be applied at the right time. Reality, does the procedure really provide a safeguard? Does it really keep money safe? The commitment, does protecting these school assets require, or protecting school assets does require commitment and consistency from both the school's administration team and the district leadership. The KSDE handbook says that there needs to be clear lines of authority, and it also suggests board policies. So the clear lines of authority would be the superintendent being responsible for administrating board policies, the district treasurer being the fiscal officer of the school district, having that overall responsibility for accounting and reporting. From there, the principal being the designated activity fund supervisor. Then the principal can designate a bookkeeper and delegate to a club sponsor as well. Suggested board policies should really make sure that they follow all laws and follow an audit trail as well. There also needs to be proper segregation of duties implemented. So 3 critical duties that should be separated for internal control purposes are signing checks, maintaining fund account records, and reconciling the bank statements. As Shawnee Mission School District does have an accounting manual that is available. They have lines of authority where the principal is a designated administrator. At the elementary levels, the secretary is designated the bookkeeper, and then after that, there are club sponsors. There also is an internal auditor for that control system as well. There are financial and compliance audits conducted annually. 3 types of internal controls. Let's get a little more specific. The textbook defines these as preventative, detective, and corrective controls. Preventative are to make sure that errors and irregularities don't occur. Detective are to identify if an error has occurred. And corrective are to make sure that if a detective control does find something wrong, that it is made correct. So the KSDE handbook suggests some board policies around that, such as pre-numbered receipts, using a cash register, receipts that show cumulative readings, pre-numbered tickets. Another preventative control would be the student organization sponsor, keeping records of all cash collected by source. Detective board policies that are suggested are auditable, checkable records. The activity fund bookkeeper preparing a financial report for each student organization. All money being kept in a locked safe or vault. And then a corrective board policy is any discrepancies should be resolved immediately. So what are some of the Shawnee Mission School District guidelines for the principal and bookkeeper? They're very explicit. There are preventative measures such as all activity fund records, including checkbooks and receipt books, being kept in the locked cabinet or vault when not in use. This at the elementary level is generally within the larger office. Cash and checks collected should be kept in a locked area until deposited. All receipts collected must be deposited into the student activity fund daily. Receipts must be issued for all money collected and must be pre-numbered. The principal appoints a sponsor for each account to administer the funds received and expended for that account. There also is a journal, a manual journal is maintained at all elementary schools, and receipts and checks should be posted to the journal daily. Detective measures that are in place in the Shawnee Mission School District manual are that the student activity accounts are subject to audit by the internal auditor. These audits encompass both financial and compliance audits. Records are available at all times when school is in session, and then all elementary and middle schools give their books to the business office during the summer months for an internal audit, as well as an audit by an independent auditing firm. And another one that is in place is at the end of each month, the checkbook balance must be reconciled with the bank statement. And the following being due to the business office by the 15th of the following month: a trial balance, the monthly financial remittance report, a sales tax report, and bank reconciliation, and a copy of the bank statement. The corrective guideline that is in the Shawnee Mission School District accounting manual is that a journal entry form is completed when a correction affects the cash account. A transfer form is completed when the correction is between the student accounts that don't affect the cash account. What are some basic general controls? Our textbook looks at it in three ways: environmental, administrative, and limited access. Creating an environment that has high standards of integrity and is committed to the procedures. Administrative controls are review of bank statements, reconciliation in a timely manner, separating out duties. Limited access means that only specific staff have access to any of these things. The KSDE handbook really does segregate out all duties, and it has explicit guidelines that are suggested to be made by districts. Overall, the Shawnee Mission School District Accounting Manual has explicit guidelines written in their manual. They have that manual online for anybody to be able to view. There's much overlap between the basic general controls and the previous slide regarding sound internal controls and the three types of environmental controls. For example, administrative and limited access controls are all activity fund records, including checkbooks, receipt books, being kept in a locked cabinet or vault when not in use. Cash and checks collected should be kept in a locked area until deposited, which was mentioned as in the previous slide as a preventative measure. It should be noted that when a Shawnee Mission School District administrator is following guidelines laid out in the manual, then they're creating a transparent business environment that all within the community can trust. What are some cash control receipts? Well, what is a cash control? A cash receipt is the money coming into the school, and it's the assets that are most vulnerable to misuse or theft. So our textbook says we need to look at it in three ways: preparing deposits, making deposits, and giving receipts. Again, there are much overlap between these safeguards and the ones in the previous slides. SMSD follows the suggested guidelines in the book and incorporates most, if not all, the suggested KSDE policies into their accounting manual. So KSDE says provide an audit trail. Have a paper trail, have an electronic trail. It also suggests policies related to money collected should be substantiated by pre-numbered receipts, receipts that show cumulative readings, pre-numbered tickets, a student organization sponsor, keeping records of cash collections by source. The SMSD accounting manual says all cash and checks collected within the building must be turned over to the bookkeeper or secretary daily. The secretary writes a receipt within 24 hours for all monies to be turned over to them and issues a copy of the receipt to the appropriate party. Teachers are required to provide a student checklist to the office for cash and checks that are paid to the teachers by the students. If it's necessary to void a receipt, the original and the copy must clearly be marked void and kept in the receipt book. A clear record of the transaction must be noted on the receipt, as this becomes the source document for posting to the journal. Receipts are to be deposited at the bank daily. The amount of the deposit should equal the total of the receipts written for the day. Bank deposit slips will be made out in duplicate, the original for the bank and the copy for the school. Let's look at disbursements now. Cash controls for disbursements. Disbursements is the money going out of the school, and they're properly made through checks, which are actual payments, and purchase orders, which is a promissory payment, where funds are set aside until that money is due. So the textbook looks at issuing checks. It looks at issuing purchase orders and determines the school true balance, which they classified into three subcategories: school accounts, student accounts, and flow-through accounts. So The total of the balances in the school accounts after funds have been subtracted is the only general money available to operate the school. The money in the students' accounts has to be spent on the project for which the funds were raised. The money is not available for general school projects or specific items like supplies. Flow-through accounts may be received at your school, but they must be forwarded to the central office, not spent at the school level. This is for items such as summer school. In our district, that would be Jump Start, Smart Start. KSDE handbook says that the disbursement of student activity funds requires approval of the student organization sponsor and the activity fund supervisor, and has suggested policies such as student activity fund cash disbursement should first be approved by the student organization, then by the organization sponsor, and then the principal. Another suggested policy is the district may wish to establish a dollar limit for student activity fund disbursements, and disbursements in excess of that limit require approval at the district level. SMSD gives explicit instructions again. One rule that is never, ever, ever made an exception to is no disbursements from these collections will be made by the bookkeeper. So our secretary does not give out money. All disbursements from the student activity fund must be made by check. The secretary and the building principal sign the checks. An alternate signer can be appointed to sign checks in the absence of the bookkeeper and the principal. That can be an assistant principal, an athletic director, a head teacher. And in order for student activity funds to be spent, a requisition must be approved by the student representative and a sponsor from the requesting club prior to the issuance of a purchase order. In elementary schools, the requisition and the purchase order are the same form. There are specific guidelines laid out for both the elementary, middle, and high school level within our SMSD accounting manual. Moving from cash controls and disbursements into reflection, I really think that the Shawnee Mission School District accounting manual is extremely comprehensive. It even has a troubleshooting page, like frequently misstepped things. Here it is, and it lays everything out there explicitly: what to do, what not to do, how to do, if you have questions, who to go to. It really does things so clearly that if you are an administrator in this school district, you should have no questions, comments, or concerns about the policies and procedures for activities funds and the safeguards surrounding them. I also really thought that the Shawnee Mission School District manual incorporated the KSDE guidelines and suggested guidelines extremely well. When looking at the board policies, they all essentially said refer to the manual. So the manual really does do a good job for our administrators in this district.